Okay, so you just got that shiny new phone. You've seen the ads, right? People splashing around with it, dunking it in water, no problem. So it's totally safe for your next trip to the beach, isn't it? Well, here's the thing. The truth about your waterproof phone is a bit more complicated, and getting it wrong could be a really expensive mistake.
So how do we get to the bottom of this? We're going to lean on this fantastic deep dive from iGizmo.it, written by Luca Fagini. He really did the work to figure out what's actually happening behind all that slick marketing. Let's just cut right to the chase. Is your phone actually waterproof? Well, the short answer, it's a big, fat no. And, it's that huge gap between water-resistant and waterproof where all the confusion and, frankly, all the danger begins. And look, this isn't just some minor technical detail we're talking about. This is a huge deal. I mean, look at this number, 10 million euros. That's the fine Italy's competition authority slapped on Apple for misleading ads. Turns out, what they promised in those commercials, it didn't quite match up with what happens in the real world. All right, to really get this, we need to break down the core myth here. And it really all comes down to a battle between two very different concepts: pressure versus simple immersion.
Okay, think about it this way. A real diver's watch that's built to handle immense water pressure. That's the force of all that water literally pushing down on it. But your phone, it's only tested for just dipping it in shallow, totally still water. They're just not even in the same league. Two totally different ballgames. And you know what? This whole difference is actually spelled out in that little code you always see on the box, the IP rating. So let's break down what those numbers really mean, shall we?
So IP just stands for ingress protection. Ingress is really just a fancy way of saying getting inside, and it's a standard that rates how well a gadget is sealed off from stuff getting in, whether it's solids like dust or liquids, like water. Okay, so let's look at the one you see everywhere on high-end phones, IP68. The 6 is for solids, and hey, that's a perfect score. It means it's totally dust tight. Awesome. Now the 8, that's for water. It means the phone survived a lab test in about 1.5 meters of water for 30 minutes. But, and this is the huge catch, that test, it's done in perfectly still, pure lab water. It is not a guarantee for your day at the beach. And that right there brings us to probably the most critical point of all. Because it turns out the type of water matters a lot. The water in those lab tests is absolutely nothing like what you'll find at the beach or even in a swimming pool. Okay, so here's the big trap everyone falls into. Those IP tests are always done in pure, clean, fresh water. But salt water, that's a whole different animal. It's denser, so it puts more pressure on the seals. And worse, it's super corrosive. It's basically a death sentence for the delicate electronics inside your phone. And hey, same goes for that chlorinated pool water. Your phone just wasn't built or tested for that stuff. So, okay, the worst happens. Your phone takes a dive into the ocean. What do? First, get it out of there, fast. Then, you need to rinse it right away in fresh water. But, and listen to this, do not stick it under a powerful running tap. That pressure can actually be what forces the water past the seals. Instead, do what the article says. Just gently dunk it in a bowl of clean, fresh water to wash away all that nasty, destructive salt. Okay, so more recently, you might have seen a new rating pop up, IP69. And this one's a pretty big deal, because it's the first time we're finally talking about pressure.
So what's the difference? It's pretty simple, actually. IP68, remember, is about just sitting still in water. Immersion. But IP69, that's about surviving high-pressure, high-temperature jets of water. It was really designed for, industrial gear that needs to be power washed. So this is a huge step up because now pressure is part of the test. And believe me, the test for this is intense. It's no joke. The phone gets blasted from all sides with these crazy water jets. We're talking 80 to 100 bars of pressure. That's over 1,400 psi. And the water is a scalding 80 degrees Celsius. So if a phone has both IP68 and IP69, it's been tested for both sitting in water and getting hit with pressure. It's much tougher, for sure. It'll handle splashes, rain, maybe a quick drop in the sink, no problem.
But, and you knew there was a but coming, right? This is a really big one. That shiny IP rating, it only applies to a phone that is brand spanking new, right out of the box, in perfect lab conditions. Your phone, the one that's been in your pocket for 6 months, it's not in perfect condition anymore.
I mean, just think about it for a second. Remember that time you dropped it a couple months back? Even if you can't see a crack, it could have created tiny, invisible microcracks in the frame or around the screen. And that's all it takes to compromise the seal. The article also points out other things, like running it under a powerful tap, or, get this, pressing a button while it's underwater. That can literally break the seal and pump water right inside. Okay, so after all that doom and gloom, you're probably thinking, so what's the answer? How do I actually make my phone safe for the water? Well, good news, there is a real solution.
You know, Luca Ficini, the author from iGizmo.it that we've been following, he just nails it with this quote. He says, your phone isn't subacqueo, that's Italian for underwater, or waterproof. It's splash-proof. That rating is there to save your butt from an accident, like getting caught in the rain. It's not a green light to go for a swim with it.
So if you're dead set on getting those awesome underwater photos in the pool, or you just want total peace of mind at the beach, the answer is actually pretty simple. You need a dedicated, specialized waterproof case. Think of it like, well, the article calls it an armor. It's a true external shield, and it gives you the kind of certainty that the phone's built-in rating, with all its asterisks and fine print, just can't. And that really brings us to the final question, one for you to think about. For a device that costs a ton of money and holds like your entire life, is a lab-tested promise really good enough for you? Or is it maybe time to give it a real shield for the real world?